Okay, guys, so we just got finished with an excellent viewing. Excellent is an overstatement. That was pretty boring overall, actually. But 3-0 away. So much to talk about. Obviously, controversy, drama, excitement, but I want to cover it all. I think I want to start first with the red card, though. It's the most, pertinent thing that occurred in the game. It's the most dramatic. So leading up to this red card, there's 20 minutes of onslaught of football from Bilbao. And I'll be honest, I think we got a little bit lucky today with the red card. So leading up to that, Bilbao was slaughtering us. They should have at least finished one chance, but this is the way that European football is. And I said this in the last game. There's shifts and there's tides. There's constant shifts in the tide. If you are on the top in that game and you do not finish, unless you are like the absolute better team, you are going to get punished for that 20 minutes later. And that's what happened today. Obviously, a red card is very dramatic, but it happened with Arsenal. It happened with Barca Inter. And not to say that the teams that have scored don't deserve the goals that they're scoring, but it's like quite evidently these teams at this point in these tournaments have the quality to still hurt you. So when you are doing good against them, you really want to make sure you finish. And I know that's like a rule in all of football, but it becomes even more so important in something like the knockout stages. We're in the semifinal. So today, the 20 minutes of football is playing out. Bilbao is pretty much overall dominating, and there's a little bit of like attacking impetus from United. And one of the plays, the ball gets shifted out to Garnacho, where he slips and falls, catches himself on the ground, but as he's catching himself, the ball bounces off the turf, hits his arm. So he's like laying on the ground, sort of, trying to make sure he doesn't fall. Gets up, turns, and makes a pass. The pass is into Mazraoui, who then puts a low-driven cross across the face of the box. Højlund is sliding, trying to get to it, and he's inches, but he is literally pulled by two hands by the center back, like legit yanked by the arm, so that he can't get to the ball. Højlund is like literally an inch from the ball, misses the ball, and the play goes on for like another minute before it's like halted and like looked at by VAR. So that's the sequence of events. First things first, that's a foul. Okay, it's a penalty, no question. It's obviously a penalty. But I think the controversy is whether or not it's a red card and whether or not Garnacho had a handball. So let's address the first thing, because obviously that's the most important. Because if the handball gets called, then none of this happens. The handball happens because Garnacho is falling on the ground and he catches himself with his arm, and the ball bounces off his leg and hits his arm. If you're going to tell me that you genuinely think that that should get called, you hate football. You actually like might be like just an anti-football person, or an Athletic Bilbao fan, or like a hate watcher of United. But like on a real note, if your team is playing and your player falls on the ground and he tries to catch himself to balance himself and the ball hits his leg and hits his arm, you wouldn't be fuming if that gets called as a handball. Yes, it hits his arm, but like intention should be considered when having these conversations, because at the end of the day, football is moving at such a fast pace that we can't just like look at pictures with our eyes closed and be like, oh, this is the scenario. Like, there's intention. These are real human beings. This is a sport comprised of human beings. Garnacho gains no advantage there. It's the same thing with like offsides, where like a player is off by like 2 inches by their toes. Dude, there's no advantage there. Like, I understand he's offside, but like the sport is dying. Like, wake up. That's kind of where I'm coming from here. Like, I'm going to be more in favor of like a little bit more leeway in the overall structure of rules, as long as that provides excitement. And I don't mean like a dramatic increase of leeway, but like some leeway. Like, a toe shouldn't be called offside, and Garnacho balancing himself on the ground and the ball hitting his arm shouldn't be a handball. It also shouldn't be a handball in the box. And I understand if that's part of the logic that someone's utilizing to call it a handball and say that penalties have been called for less. I agree, and I think that's BS. And it's gone against us multiple times, actually, many times. So I'm actually going to be the first person to say I think it's BS when a handball is called in the box like that. So absolutely, I think it's BS. And in this case, I think it's BS as well. We've suffered it many times, and that's not justifying that we like should get away with anything, but I think it's a silly rule in general. And like, if there's no goal or penalty at the end of the day, like no one gives a shit about what happened. But it's just not a handball in my opinion. There's no advantage gained from the team. from the handball. Garnacho is in control there. He already touched it to keep it away from the defender. There's no oncoming defender from the other side that he's like shielding with his arm. Like either way, Garnacho keeps the ball or gets fouled there. Now the red card, which maybe is like a more pressing matter. I think maybe it's not a red card. It's definitely a denial of a goal scoring opportunity, no question about it. And if that foul occurs outside the box and Højlund's the last player, it's a red card all day. But I don't know the specific rules, and I'm going to Google this right now. But I don't think that there's any, I don't know if denial of a goal scoring opportunity in the box is always a yellow card. I'm going to just Google that right now. Is Dogso in the box a yellow all the time? No, a Dogso offense inside the penalty is not always a yellow card. Okay? It's a yellow card only if the player was attempting to play the ball or challenge for the ball, and a penalty kick is awarded. If the player committed a Dogso offense without attempting to play the ball, holding, pulling, pushing, it results in a red card. Okay, that's so funny because I was just having this debate with my friend who was telling me that it's definitely not a red card, and I'm literally looking at the evidence that it is a red card. So if you're watching this, love you, Bernardo. But yeah, so definitely a red card. He doesn't play the ball, and he's literally pulling Højlund's arm. So no question about it. He is, okay, it's Højlund, so we don't know if he's scoring it, but he's kicking the ball to literally an unopposed goal besides the keeper in the face of goal, less than 6 yards out at pace, and he's pulling him away. That's a red card and a penalty, according to the rules here. It's harsh and it sucks, but the situation's insane. It's a denial of a goal scoring opportunity, which is already a red all the time. The box is just like a little bit more contextual, and here it gives leeway if he's trying to play the ball, which he doesn't. So it's a red card. We score the penalty, and the momentum just shifts, bro. Like I'm saying, Bilbao could not recover. Athletic Club, sorry. Apparently they don't like to be called Bilbao. Athletic Club could not recover the game after that. Like it was just a morgue. But like on a real note, it doesn't matter because like we played so slow that it was almost like you couldn't tell that we were up a man. Like I'm going to name some positives, but just like real quick. Like, and I know we won 3-0, but like we played like we were snails. Like there was one point where I'm literally watching the game and I'm going, this is 10v11 and we still can't play out the back. And Casemiro is like basically not even, like they weren't even pressing us, bro. They were like sitting in a mid block, and then when we passed the line, like they would sit slightly deeper. But like they weren't pressing us. They weren't like making it hard to play at the back. We just like would play so slow, and I genuinely think just most of the players are not technically astute enough to just play what Amram wants, because so many times I see, okay, we're going to focus on this player for a little bit. Manuel Ugarte, bro. I love him, and I was so excited for his signing this summer. And when he first burst onto the scene under Ten Hag, he was excellent. He was like, everybody was saying this. He was the player that we've been waiting for, as in like somebody who has like energy in the midfield, but someone who just has energy in the team overall, somebody who's excited, and somebody who's like hungry, like somebody who's willing to fight for the ball, someone who's like hungry for the ball, somebody who's like interested at all times in making sure that the other team doesn't have the ball. Like that's what he was giving for a good 3-4 months, and that it was beautiful. But it, like for me, I feel like he's like honestly like regressed a little bit over this season, and I don't know if that's just a result of this difficult fan base being so damn critical on players that it's getting to him. Like you have to remember, bro's like 23, dude. Like I don't even think, if he's not, he's 24, bro. Dude, he's 24 years old, and I think he just turned 24 too. Like I think we have to understand that we hurt these players so fast because we're so critical and so impatient. Like there's no way that we should be dismissing players as soon as we do. Joshua Zirkzee, perfect example. Everyone was saying sell him in January, and I'm like, dude, it's been 4 months. Like, how do you think you're so confident saying Zirkzee's ass without considering the fact that maybe the system has just been hurting him and he needs some time to adapt? Like, why don't we give players full seasons, bro? Like, I'm just now of the opinion that, like, Rasmus Højlund is like starting to overstay his welcome. And we're in his second, or is it his third season? This is his second season, right? I don't know. Either way, the point is give the players time. Why would you just automatically assume that they're just not good enough and like put them at a disadvantage? Do you want the team to win? Like Xerxes was put under the pressure fast. He was already not a full striker, and just when he wasn't scoring, he scored on his debut, which is so crazy. And then he went through the craziest drought, and then he started playing well, and everyone's like, "Oh, let's not give up on our players." Yeah, no shit. Like, be a good person. Anyways, Ugarte is the same thing. I think that recently, especially the past 2.5 months, he has been receiving some insane pressure. And I think the concerns that we had before signing him are just becoming prevalent, and that's just it. He's not a progressive ball passer. And in fact, I think that's something we already knew. Ugarte was never somebody with a good progressive pass on him. He is an excellent, in fact, he's a serial ball winner. And that is his game. And he's one of the best in the world at it, actually, in my opinion. He is a true bulldog. He has one thing on his mind. I said this earlier. If the other team has the ball, change that. Let's fix that shit. Like, they can't have that. That is Ugarte's game, and it's beautiful. But the moment he has the ball, do not expect him to play a pass in front of him. No disrespect. The kid is talented, and maybe that's something that evolves in his game, because if it is, then he would be insane. And maybe Amram's the man to change that. We have a summer in front of us, and I'm not at all saying that we should be selling him this summer. And I don't even think that's going to be something considered. Because he's one of the only players on the team with legs and tenacity who can play in the middle and who can decently defend. He just can't play forward. But if you put him next to a player who can play forward, who is creative, and who is technical, then it looks a little bit less bad. But I think what's so interesting is that consistently Ugarte is getting subbed out ahead of Casemiro. Like, we wrote this man off earlier this year before that. The game against Liverpool, my God. Where I was at then versus now, I do think part of that is just a result of Amram knowing how to play him and play to his strengths. And like, as a team, we've been benefiting from that. But it's the fact that Amram would rather play to the strengths of Casemiro and keep him on than play to the strengths of Ugarte and keep him on. That's just a sign of the fact that even though Ugarte is such a good physical presence in the midfield, he still isn't providing what Amram wants, which is a progressive passer. Like, we all talked about Ugarte being like the thing that made Amram's team click, but his most recent rendition actually had Hjulmand. I know that Ugarte was sold to PSG the summer prior, but he had a progressive ball passer in the midfield. That's actually what made them play so well. Like, yes, having a serial ball winner is excellent, but having a player who can win the ball and still hold on to it and still make the pass, that is so big, because so many times we see this team shift. Like, yes, we play a 3-4-3, but ideally and consistently, we actually see us shift into like a 3-1-6, which is like what Ten Hag actually wanted to achieve. A 3-1-6 or like a 3-1-5-1, whatever you want to call it. We see that the three center backs stay in the back, and then it'll usually be Casemiro, a deep lying playmaker, next to whoever the second pivot is. So in this case, it was like Casemiro, and then like Ugarte would push up with Bruno, because Bruno is a 10, and then Garnacho, and then Højlund, and then you had like your two wing backs, which was like Mazraoui and Dorgu. Or you would have, which would be the 3-1-6, or you would have them all, and then like the striker would be in front of them. That's the only one. That's the only reason I'd say like a 3-1-5-1. Either way, it seems like what Amram really wants, because the width is so important to the system, and we live and die by the ability of our wingbacks to hold the width and still play, is having the team set up with the three center backs, ideally like Heaven, De Ligt, Euro, sprinkle some blue cheese. Casemiro in front of them, and then Bruno would be that second pivot who would actually shift upwards, and you have two other more technical 10s who mount Menu, in my opinion, the best 10s that we have at the club right now, bar the fact that Xerxes can't play. If we had Xerxes, I'd say like Xerxes Menu, Xerxes Mount, something like that. But still, Bruno as the second pivot, Casemiro in the back, and then Dorgu, Ahmad on the right. That's like the best way we could play. But today, we saw a couple people come back. We saw Ahmad come back. We saw Mount make a cameo. We saw Menu make a cameo. And every single time that Menu comes on for Garnacho, he just confirms what I'm screaming at my screen for 75 minutes. And I say this every time I make a video. And I don't want to be somebody who circulates negative energy, so I want to say this in the most positive way possible. Garnacho is not fit for the system. He has incredible potential as a winger, but we don't have wingers in this system. The 10s aren't wingers and the wingbacks aren't wingers. They're hybrids, and we can talk about the technical parts of the system, whatever. We don't have wingers in the system. That's why Rashford would never work. That's why Garnacho would never work. We'd have a better chance at Sancho playing in the team than Garnacho, which I am not at all saying I actually want him to leave, but I'm just saying, like, you want somebody who is, like, yes, direct and electric, like a winger, but the most important part is the decision making, because for all the times that Garnacho gets us up the field, he loses possession, he makes the incorrect call. How many times in that first, like, 5-6 minutes did Garnacho, the whole team was ticking, the ball would be moving fluidly, and then it would be like Garnacho losing the ball, and I'd be like, dude, what are we doing? And then we would, like, defend, retake the ball, cycle possession, the ball would get to Garnacho, and he's, like, in moments where he's, like, in space, and I'm like, pass the ball or run. And then he, like, will do something and then, like, trip over the ball, and then they have the ball again. And it happened, like, 3 times in, like, 3 minutes. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I feel mean right now, but it's like, this is consistently occurring. Like, consistently occurring. Garnacho needs to be an impact sub if he's going to play for United. The only thing that I can think of as a saving grace for Emram, like why he keeps playing him, is because he is just putting him in the shop window for as much as possible and just hoping that Garnacho just does a bunch of crazy shit and just, like, ups his market value so he can be sold in the summer. And if so, then, like, high IQ move from Emram, because I'd be doing the same thing. But if not, then it's, like, giving me McTominay vibes. Like, Eric Ten Hag used McTominay as, like, a saving grace. Like, hey, do something crazy and I hope you score, because most of the time you'd make the wrong decision and you're not technically fit to play the system. But, like, there's times where you pop up and everyone's like, see, you were underrated. You're the GOAT. Garnacho is the same thing. Like, 1 in 20 opportunities he'll finish. And I'm not trying to be mean. He has potential, but he's a winger, bro. He needs wide areas. He needs space. He needs to look at his defender and knock the ball and run past them. He needs to play a system where he can do that. He just can't do that here. So that's not a hate. This is just, like, a fact. Because when you put Mainu in there, who is less electric, less direct, he's literally on the ball more involved with play and making correct decisions. He scores goals as a 10. He makes and facilitates play. He's creative. He's an outlet. He's smart. He's occupying the right zones. Yes, he's less electric, but the kid is literally a futsal player playing in an 11v11. Let him cook. Okay, just let him cook. A couple more positives I want to comment on. Maguire, great right wing cameo today. But no, seriously, there was a great cross to score our first goal. Ugarte with a beautiful header. 2 assists in 2 games from Ugarte, by the way. In contrast to my comment that he's not a progressive ball passer, which he still isn't. But it's nice to see him on the making a goal or assisting a goal. Either way, it's beautiful. And yeah, Højlund, actually, decent game. It might go under the radar, but he just contributed so much to this team today, off the ball movement wise, winning a penalty, almost winning a second penalty. I think just in general, he offered a good amount. Like, yes, he didn't score a goal, but at the very least, he's still contributing and he's still delivering and he's still helping the team progress, which at the very least, you have to applaud the kid for doing what he can. Bruno, I mean, ever so influential in performance as usual, though. Could have had a hat trick. He is everywhere. He is everything. He literally takes the game and just, like, controls it. I noticed a couple times that it seemed like the creative, like, stick was, like, battled for between Mount and Bruno, which I am a little frustrated by, because I want Bruno to alleviate himself of that responsibility, but I think he just doesn't know who to trust, and he still wants to take all the responsibility onto himself, which, like, I understand. But I do think Mount is able to look after the ball. He's so capable, and I really hope that he's able to start soon. Maybe in the final, we'll see. But yeah, clean sheet away from home, 3-0, big win for us, genuinely. And I think we're going to win the Europa League, guys. I think win is, for me, confirmation. I'm a little worried about, like, Tottenham pulling off a surprise, or, like, Bodo Glimt beating us again, or, like, I don't know. No, what I mean, again, we played them, we're undefeated, so giving us a hard time like last time, though. Like, it's a struggle to play teams like that, but I also think the way we played then under Ten Hag was so miserable and so poor and so lacking of, like, attacking IQ that, like, maybe that's why we struggled. I think now we're a much better and different team. Seeing Ahmed today, by the way, best player, bro. He broke that kid's ankles, almost makes a an opportunity to score, shot creating action, whatever. Such a good player, and like just the 5 minutes that he was on the pitch, man, like we missed that kid, like for real. And I'm just happy he's back. De Ligt looked really good. I wonder if he'll be starting over Maguire. Will be starting next to Maguire. I think maybe just because Dallow's out, he might be. So Mazraoui will just not be used as a center back and more as a right wing back. And honestly, that's fine with me because Maguire's had such a good season, and it would be a shame to not allow him to start these next two Europa League games. But I wonder how De Ligt will be utilized, and also for the future as well. But it's nice to have competition in the team regardless. You want great players to be battling it out for who deserves to start, because that just only helps us have a better team in general. I think that's really all I wanted to cover, though. Overall, like an okay performance. I'm a little worried because we just lack so much creativity, but I really think it's just a result of the fact that when you have Casemiro and Ugarte in the middle, although they're so defensively sound and provide so much defensive protection, there is just no creative impetus when those two are involved. When Bruno drops, it's just like an immediate shift of like, okay, now we have like a brain in the middle. Casemiro is like kind of a brain, but he can't run and carry the ball. He has to stay back, and Ugarte can't pass and run with the ball. He passes it off. When you have those two together, it's kind of like, how do we get to Bruno? Okay, let's move out wide. Okay, Bruno's not getting to the ball. The moment Ugarte's out and Bruno drops, Bruno's on the ball, and then like it's like our eyes open up and there's color in the final third again. It's ridiculous. But that's kind of just like a sign of like how much depth we lack. And I think honestly for the future, but like in the future, do we keep having Ugarte as a starter and then shifting Bruno in later and just like take that creative loss? Or do we start with Bruno in the middle and then sacrifice the defensive like tenacity of Ugarte? Thankfully, I'm not the manager, so I don't have to make that decision. We'll see what happens. But alas, my friends, it was a lot of talking. I need to breathe. 3-0. Old Trafford waits. I think we're winning the Europa League. Thank you guys for watching, and love you. 22 minutes and 10